Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I'm Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, we have some breaking news today. I'm sure you guys have heard, but if you haven't, the ATF has made an interpretation on specific triggers that they now call machine guns. Not the guns themselves, the triggers. And what this does is this has ramifications across the board. Basically, if you have one, you can't have one because now it's an NFA item, which basically means it's under intense federal scrutiny. It basically puts you in a category of something where you don't want to be, because what was legal yesterday is now not legal today, based off what to me is the most important point. Interpretation by an executive bureaucracy now changing existing gun laws. That's a problem. You can put that in anything. You can put that in any type of law you want. If an executive bureaucracy is changing the law by changing the definition and these ramifications go across the board and trickle down, that's where we have the problem. I've got a lot more details on the back side of this. I got to do a quick read from the sponsor of this video who made this possible, and we're going to hit it and hit it hard, and everything is going to be linked in the description box below per usual. Now, Pyramid Air is sick of the situation, and if you've been around for the last 2 years, you know what the situation is I'm talking about. So they are giving away thousands of targets and stickers and want to see your frustration as well. They want to see you filming, snapping, or even talking about how you take out your frustration on these targets in a truly American way. To thank you for joining the fun, they are giving away $5,000 of shopping sprees weekly. First place, $3K, second place, $1.5, and third place, $500. Anyone can enter. There's no purchase necessary. Check out the link description box below, and thank you so much from Pyramid Air for making these videos possible. Now, we got to talk about this because there's so many implications, okay? Here's the article in question, and then I'm going to hit a few points which are really important. ATF issues letter to FFLs classifying some forced reset triggers as machine guns. Now, this is breaking as of a couple hours ago. But do you guys remember, let me know in the comments field below, do you remember what we've been talking about since Biden got inaugurated? How they've essentially been relegated only to the world of executive actions. The congressional action has not happened. It's stalled. No laws are being passed. Judicial, they don't have the Supreme Court. However, they do have executive actions through executive bureaucracies. The ATF is a bureaucracy that controls the firearm regulation underneath the DOJ, which is directly controlled by the president. Executive branch all day long. The big problem here, and if you hear nothing on this video, understand this. The ATF just changed existing law through an interpretation of what is or what is not a machine gun, which kind of contradicts what is actually written in the law. They are pushing the envelope. You're going to see this a lot more as we get further and hear about the ATF a whole lot more in the next days, next weeks, because they're going to do the same thing with receivers and change up the whole industry. At least that's what the rumor mill has. This is really important because executive bureaucracies are now making law where Congress is supposed to be doing that. I'm going to walk you through a few more of the things, and I'm going to show you where they might have problems because there's guaranteed going to be lawsuits on this one. All right, check it out. Alfonso Hughes, the ATF's Assistant Director for Enforcement Programs and Services, and George Lauder, ATF's Assistant Director of Field Operations, have issued an open letter to all federal firearm licensees regarding forced reset triggers. That's the thing in question. Notifying them that some of them are now officially considered firearms and machine guns under the National Firearms Act and Gun Control Act. End of the day, that's not a good thing to have if you don't have a tax stamp, because NFA regulates that entire thing. Anything machine gun oriented, there's a lot of penalties that this trigger, which has gone across the entire nation with sales, now basically makes every single person who owns one of these have a machine gun. That's not a good look. Okay. Again, all from executive interpretation, not congressional law. Very, very important distinction. ATF's examination found that some FRT devices, again, some, allow a firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a single continuous pull of the trigger. For this reason, ATF has concluded that FRTs that function in this way are a combination of parts designed and intended for use in converting a weapon into a machine gun, and hence, ATF has classified these devices as a machine gun as defined by the NFA and GCA. Bare bones, if you have one of these, you now own a machine gun. That's essentially what that means. Shops, you can't sell this anymore because you have a machine gun. Dealers, distributors, you now have machine guns. It's basically redefining an entire class and has tons of ripple effect across the board because of that the initial interpretation difference. Okay, exact same thing is going on with receivers and frames in the coming ATF receiver rules. This entire administration has been going through the executive branch and bureaucracies by changing definitions under the premise of, well, we're clarifying rules and we're making sure we understand exactly what's happening. Gun control through executive bureaucracies. Let's keep going. Accordingly, ATF's position is that any FRT that allows a firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a single continuous pull of the trigger as a machine gun is accordingly subject to the GCA prohibitions regarding possession, transfer, and transport of machine guns. And they are also subject to registration, transfer, taxation, and possession restrictions under the NFA. Basically, can't have it unless you have an NFA tax stamp. But now, this is where they're going to get in trouble, because they're going to get sued on this, flat out. It's very similar to the bump stock ban, except this is a little bit more aggressive. Now, one of the things that they rely really heavily on in these court cases is called Chevron deference. If you've heard of it, cool. If not, I'm going to give you a basic rundown. According to the source that I have from Cornell, referring to the doctrine of judicial deference given to administrative actions. In Chevron, the Supreme Court set forth a legal test as to when the court should defer to the agency's answers or interpretation. Basically, the court says, I'm going to trust you, ATF. Holding that such judicial deference is appropriate where the agency's answer was not unreasonable. Well, in this case, they're saying, well, some of these are machine guns, some aren't. Some do this, some don't, so we're going to make them all machine guns based off interpretation. That's kind of unreasonable. Holding that such judicial... sorry, that's not the right part. So long as the Congress had not spoken directly to the precise issue at question. There's the other part to this. Congress gave a written definition of what is a machine gun. Chevron deference is not going to hold up here from two reasons, and I just hit them. Congress laid out exactly what a machine gun is. They're changing that interpretation definition. They are saying it is unreasonable based off of that interpretation. This is going to be a long fight. We're going to see even more of this coming down with the receiver bans and the receiver changes and all the serial numbers and interpretation changes, again, from executive branch bureaucracies. And that's where this is really, really concerning. The infringement upon our rights is a travesty. The idea that a bureaucracy can change rules that Congress wrote because of their definition changes, that's a big problem. And when I say big, a massive problem. Let me know what you guys think in the comments field below, and I'll see you tomorrow morning on the Bullet Points. I'm Braden. See you later.